All right, class. Okay, hey, how's it going? All right, so this was yesterday's notes, right? Okay, yesterday's notes are here. We start off with this. Okay, we are continuing these notes, so you don't need to update your table of contents. So we did all this first page. Now it's time to go and flip the page. So we are on this side right here. Now, this right here is a shortcut. It is a cheat. You only need to learn this one if you actually can do all your work. Because you have to fully understand what you're doing to be able to even understand the cheat. Otherwise, you will skip everything and then you'll start failing because of it. So, I'm not going over this. There's a pattern to this that actually works out very well, but I'm not going to go over it. So, if you think you could actually figure out the pattern for it, of all the problems we've been doing, then go ahead, go over this. But I'm not going to. Now, this right here, I'm going to fill in, but I don't like the way that this is built up. Instructions are not as clear as they should be, because I like writing my instructions using A, B, and C. So we're going to fill this in right here. So we have this problem, and we're going to solve using completing the square. But this particular method for this one right here, it works a lot of the time. A lot of the time. I use this more often than any of the others. As long as we're not on the phone, we might actually be getting some notes. When A is 1. A is 1, that's a good start right there. That means that over here, it is 1. If it's any other number than 1, the method works, but you have to do one more step. Okay, you have to do one more step. So let's go through and do this, and starting here, let's see. We start by write out the problem. Yeah, that's usually the first thing, right? What happened from here to here? I subtracted 15, right? Or I added 15, right? Okay, so in that case, I need to move, because these are my A, B, and C. So if I have it all listed like that, what letter got moved to the other side of the equal sign? The C, right? So my step is move C to other side of the equals. All right, the next thing. I don't like the way that they did this, because label it A, B, and C. It's super important. So let's take a look here. I know I have A, B, and C, but I'm going to write it differently over here. So this step is going to look like this. X squared minus 2x plus b divided by 2 squared. Okay, that's what all this is right here. It's b divided by 2 squared. So equals my c, which was 15, right? Right here. So I have 15 plus, again, my b divided by 2 squared. Now, these right here, if you plan on taking college algebra or pre-calculus, this is a necessity to know how to do this. Okay, this specific one works out a lot of time. You actually need it to be able to do some of our other things later on also. When we do transformations, you need to do it. Okay, so now in this case right here, my b is -2, isn't it? Yes. So -2 divided by 2. Someone say -1. -1. What's -1 squared? +1. So -1 times -1 is going to give me a +1. So this is going to give me my x squared minus 2x plus 1, because this becomes +1. Okay, this right here becomes +1. Yeah. Go ahead. Equals. So if it's +1 on this side, it's also +1 on the other side. That's going to be 15 plus 1.
Did you say -1 squared?
Yeah, because right here, see that square? So -2 divided by 2. So a negative divided by a positive is negative, right? And 2 divided by 2 is 1. So there's -1. So -1 squared. So that's -1 times -1 becomes positive.
But putting in the calculator, it says -1.
Oh, put it in parentheses. The negative has to be in parentheses. That's why. So yeah, if you don't, when you're doing the calculator, you have to have it in parentheses. So if you write it just like this in the calculator, yeah, you'll get it. All right, so now I'm going to rewrite by combining terms. So I have my x squared minus 2x plus 1 equals 16. Do I really need to tell you? Do I need to confiscate that? I know I don't, right? Because I know it's going off your desk because you are so tempted to continue. So please put it away so you're not tempted. Okay, thank you. Now, this next thing right here, the whole reason why we did that is it's called completing the square. So I'm turning this into a perfect square. So it's going to look like this. It is parentheses x, and then right here it's going to be plus b divided by 2 squared equals 16. That's a b divided by 2. I made my b a little bit too big. Sorry. So in my case right here, b is -2, isn't it? So b is -2. -2 divided by 2 is -1. That's where we get this. It's not that it's wrong, it's just doesn't explain what's it doing or why it's doing it. So it's basically what they did right here is they factored it already. They factored it to here, but what would be the point of actually doing all that? There's no point in, it's just making extra work. So what I'm showing you is this is completing a square. This is going to be a perfect square. So the steps of a perfect square leave you to this. So all it is just x plus b divided by 2. That's all it is. Okay? So we get this right here. Now we're trying to solve for x. So all this right here is getting to my factoring, and now we're going to solve for x. So to get x by itself, I need to undo this. So how do I undo a square? Square root. So I get x minus 1 equals plus or minus square root of 16. Okay, and square root of 16. 16 is a perfect square. So that's going to be x minus 1 equals plus or minus 4. Okay? Now, I need to solve for x. We are solving for x, we are not factoring. Solving for x. So if I'm solving for x, I should have it say x equals. So since I have a plus or minus right here, I need to actually go through and separate it. So it's going to look like this. X minus 1 equals positive 4. X minus 1 equals negative 4. Add 1 to both sides. X equals 5. Add 1 to both sides. X equals negative 3. Yes, I could have done this on the calculator. Yes, I could have did this one using my ABC method. I gave an easy question, an easy problem, because we need to practice the steps. Okay, when you see a harder question, that's, having the steps down is more important. Now, I would like you people right now, you're doing this one. It specifically says using this method. And I'm going to tell you it's going to be ones that it's not going to come out pretty using regular methods. So it's going to be like a weird fraction. So you can't do ABCs normally. You're not going to be able to do the ABC. You're going to end up with something odd. Anyone think they got it? Or anyone just playing on their phone? It's bad when there's no students in between here and there, and I can see. Huh? Huh? No, I got chocolate this time. Yeah, sign here. Who's the only one? There was other people. It's always gotta be you. same numbers, but you're going to use b divided by 2 squared. So,
Would this have to be right here, 2 or 5?
2. Because it's going to be, yeah, it's always 2.
And this one, let's choose right here.
This should be negative 5, right? It's b divided by 2. You got it? No, we're not doing this way. You're doing this way right here. This is ABC. We're not doing ABC. We're doing this way. Yeah, go ahead. So try and use this one. Did you add 14 here? Should have added 14. You just. Okay, so it should be negative 14. So that should be 16. And b divided by 2. What's your b? That's negative 5, right? Huh? Okay, well, we just started. That's square root of 15, right? But, what's your b? It's negative 5, right? Why do you got 1? Let me go over it. I think there's a error because a lot of people are struggling. I see a lot of 1s where there shouldn't be 1s. All right. I have x squared minus 5x minus 14 equals 0. Move the c to the other side, right? Add 14 to both sides. X squared minus 5x equals positive 14, right? I added 14 to both sides. The next step is my b divided by 2 squared. B is negative 5, right? Yeah? Okay, so x squared minus 5x plus, this is always a plus sign right here, parentheses, negative 5 divided by 2 squared. Because it's always your b divided by 2. In this case, my b was negative 5. Equals 14 plus b divided by 2 squared. Now, this one's going to be a fraction here. So, I have negative 5 squared is positive 25. And 2 squared is 4. So, it's x squared minus 5x plus 25 over 4. Because you have to square both top and bottom of the fraction.
First you square b, then you divide it?
You square them both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, remember order of operation, parentheses, exponent comes before divide. Yeah, what's up?
Wouldn't the 25 be negative?
No, because you're squaring the negative also. The negative is inside the parentheses. So if it's inside the parentheses, that means it becomes positive. All right, so 14 plus 25 over 4. Combine these together, right? Combine these together. X squared minus 5x plus 25 over 4 equals. Now, to combine those together, the common denominator is going to be 4. So that's going to be 4, 56, 81?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 81 over 4. Now the next step right here is where it's the, breaking it down here, x, right? And it's going to be plus b divided by 2. My b is -5, right? So I'm just going to leave it as a fraction. So it's minus 5 over 2, right? So just leave it as a fraction. All right, so I have that. Close square equals 81 over 4. Now, let's start by undoing my square. So I square root both sides. X minus 5 over 2 is equal to plus or minus square root of 81 over 4. Okay? Now, 81 is a perfect square and 4 is a perfect square. So the square root of 81 is 9 and the square root of 4 is 2. So it's going to be x minus 5 over 2 is equal to plus or minus 9 over 2. Now from here, I'm going to separate my answers. X minus 5 over 2 equals a positive 9 over 2. And x minus 5 over 2 equals a negative 9 over 2. Now I'm going to add 5 over 2 to both sides. So x is equal. So 9 plus 5 is 14. What's 14 divided by 2? 7. Now on this one right here, it is negative 9 plus 5. Negative 4. Negative 4 divided by 2. Okay, if I went too fast for you, okay, make sure you hit pause, back up the video, and then be like, hey, I got this. All right, so did I lose anyone here? Speak. Good, show them. You're looking at me.
Well, how did you get 81?
81? Okay, so watch this. So we have to add these two together. Right? So if you add those two together, I have to have a common denominator. My common denominator is going to be 4. Right? Okay, so I'm going to do some math over here off to the side so you can see this. So if the common denominator is going to be 4, to make this into over 4, I would multiply it by 4 over 4. Okay? So 14 times 4 over 4, like this. So that's going to give me 56. 56 over 4. Okay? That's just changing my number to the common denominator. Plus 25 over 4. Did I get the wrong number there? Is it 81? So, did you do it on the calculator? Okay. So 81 over 4 is what we get right there.
We can't just do the calculator.
I'm trying to give you an easy question that the steps are easier. If I give you the complicated one for this one, you would just like revolt and everyone get all pissed off at me right now. But yes, you can do the calculator because these answers are easy. Yes, you can do the ABC method on this one. But I'm trying to teach you the steps for this, so when you see one that's harder that you have to do this method on, it's the same thing. Yeah.
How did you get the final answer for like x equals
Like this? Okay. Are you okay to this point right here? Okay, so now, since it's plus or minus, I'm separating it into these two. Yeah, the negative and the positive, right? So when I add 5 over 2 to both sides, so that's positive and that's positive, right? So we add the top, because they're already common denominator, aren't they? So we add the top. So 9 plus 5 gives me 14. Yeah? So it's, yeah, equals 14 over 2. And same thing over here. So negative 9 plus 5 is negative 4 over 2. A little bit better? No? How do I get this?
Okay, you said 14 plus 25 over 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but how did you get the 4 to multiply that to get 81?
Okay, right here, see this? There's a denominator already of 4. So that's why it has to have a common denominator of 4. That's what I'm using the 4. If this had a denominator of 6, my common denominator would be 6. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Now, the only way that you guys can get better at this is just doing practice for this. So let's take a look at the next set. This is a different, this one works all the time. It works all the time. Now, there's different things. You're going to put the whole thing in the calculator at some point, but you need to show your work by what you have in the calculator. So we're going to do this problem right here, and I'm going to start this by labeling my A, B, and C. A, B, and C. So A is 3, B is negative 5, C is negative 2. When I'm plugging these in, I need to plug them in using parentheses. Otherwise, it's going to mess up your negatives. So, right here, I'm going to start off, it says negative B. Negative. My B value here is negative 5. Plus or minus square root. I have negative 5 squared. That's my B squared. Minus 4 times A, which is 3. It's just the numbers up front. And times the C, which is negative 2. And all this is going to be over 2 times A, which is 3. I had a highlighter here. All right, so there's certain parts of this you can go straight to the calculator, but you just got to do a couple things. Use your calculator. Don't put the whole thing, just put parts in it. So there's 3 parts for this. 1, inside the radical is 2, and the bottom is 3. Those are the 3 parts that you're going to put in the calculator. So let's see. This is going to give me a positive 5. Plus or minus square root. Negative 5 squared is 25. And negative 4 times 3 times negative 2, it is a positive, what's that going to be? 24?
Yep.
24 all over 6.
Plug that in.
Nope, not yet. No, we plugged each one of those in to get answers, right? Unless you didn't need 2 times 3 in your calculator. So, let's go ahead, combine. So it's 5 plus or minus square root of 49 over 6. Is 49 a perfect square? Yeah, it is. It's 7 times 7. So that is a perfect square. So we're going to write this out. That's 5 plus or minus 7 over 6.
What if it doesn't have a perfect square?
Then you just leave the radical. Yeah. So just leave the radical. That's it. All right. So now I'm going to break this up into 2 separate fractions. And we're solving for x here. So all these right here, if you notice, it starts off with x equals. So I'm going to have that x is equal to 5 over 6 plus or minus 7 over 6. If there was a radical here, I would leave it alone. I would just say, hey, that's the answer. But these are all numbers. I could do the math on the numbers. So this is going to give me x equals 5 over 6 plus 7 over 6. And x equals 5 over 6 minus 7 over 6. These ones are already starting off with common denominators. So 5 plus 7 is 12, right? 5 plus 7 is 12. And 12 divided by 6 is 2. So here x is 2. Over here, 5 minus 7 is negative 2, right? Negative 2 over 6. So negative 2 over 6. Does that reduce? Yeah. So that's going to be x equals negative 1/3. This is probably going to be the go-to for everyone. Okay? This one works all the time. All right? I want you guys right now do this one real quick. I'm going to give you guys about 3 minutes. It shouldn't take more than 3 minutes for this. Anyone got it?
How do you get 24? Because right here, it's -4 times A and C. So expand this further. Everything's inside the radical. See how everything's inside there? You stop right here. So everything's inside the radical. What's up? 4 squared is 16. So it's right here. Minus. Okay, so now put all that stuff in the top.
Yeah, you got it? All right, let me unfreeze this so you guys can check your work. And okay, remind me tomorrow. There's one note on the bottom I need to show you,
Alright, Monday.
and it's a test question. That's it. What's -4 divided by 2? Did you already have that? That's -2, isn't it? Bye, you people.